There are several different versions of Pro Tools and many options that you can buy. In this lesson, I'll give you a brief overview of the various versions of Pro Tools. There are way too many options to discuss here, so I suggest you take a look at DigiDesign's website for more information. Sessions saved under one version can be loaded in the others, but you may not have access to the same number of tracks or the same plugins. Unfortunately, DigiDesign doesn't offer any cross-grading between versions. You have to buy each one separately. The first thing to realize about Pro Tools is that it is a combination of hardware and software. You can't run the Pro Tools software unless you have a compatible hardware device. The Big Mama version of Pro Tools is called Pro Tools HD. To use it, you have to purchase one of DigiDesign's audio interfaces, like the 192I/O or the 96I/O. These are connected to dedicated processor cards that are installed in your computer. Much of the processing that Pro Tools does occurs on these processing cards, so the system performs extremely well. With Pro Tools HD, you can open up sessions with up to 256 audio tracks, as well as 256 MIDI tracks and 128 virtual instrument tracks. You can work with multiple tracks of video. Pro Tools HD is also the only version of Pro Tools that supports TDM plugins. These are versions of effects and instruments that use the processor cards to run instead of your computer's memory. TDM plugins tend to be more expensive than other versions of plugins, so beware. We'll talk a little more about TDM plugins later in the course. Unlike Pro Tools HD, the other two versions of Pro Tools use the native processing power of your computer to run. The more memory and the faster processor you have, the better Pro Tools runs. Pro Tools LE requires a Digi 002 or 003 or an M-Box to run. Pro Tools M-Powered requires a compatible audio interface from M Audio, like the Fast Track Pro, the Firewire 1814, or a keyboard like the KeyStation 49i. In version 8 of Pro Tools, the LE and M-Powered versions can support up to 48 audio tracks, 256 MIDI tracks, and 32 instrument tracks. There are other differences between the three software versions, so I suggest that you consult DigiDesign's website for all the details. You can also purchase two options for the LE and M-Powered versions of Pro Tools. The first is the Music Production Kit, and the Music Production Kit expands the number of tracks you can work with to 64 audio tracks and adds some other features and plugins. The DV Toolkit, which is only available for the LE version of Pro Tools, also expands the track count to 64 and adds some video capabilities, such as multiple video tracks. Now you can also buy both together for LE, and that includes the Music Production Kit, and the DV Toolkit expands the track count to 128 mono or 64 stereo tracks and 64 virtual instrument tracks. If that all isn't confusing enough, DigiDesign provides lots of additional options. There's DigiTranslator software that helps you exchange OMF files with Final Cut, Avid, and other video editing systems. If you are working with video, it's almost a requirement. You can also buy various packages of plugins from DigiDesign that expand the number of effects and virtual instruments you can access. There are also various control surfaces that allow you to use faders and knobs to control the virtual faders and knobs in Pro Tools. With these products, you can also move around a session, start and stop recording and playback, and perform many other functions without touching a keyboard or mouse. And of course, there are scores of companies producing plugins that work with Pro Tools. Companies like Waves, Native Instruments, Soundtoys, and many, many others. So how do you choose what system to buy? Well, you should start with the decision of what Pro Tools version do you want, HD, LE, or M-Powered. All of them require hardware interfaces. HD gives you the most power, but it is by far the most expensive version of the software. If you're using a laptop, a great solution is to get a compatible M Audio keyboard and use it as an audio and MIDI interface with Pro Tools M-Powered. If your recording needs are more complex, but you don't want to spend the cash for an HD system, then invest in Pro Tools LE and a compatible audio interface. Along with the choice of software, you need to choose what audio interface to buy. Each interface offers different amounts of inputs and outputs. Some of the products combine the audio interface with a MIDI keyboard. Others combine a control surface with the audio interface. As you can see, you have an abundance of choices when configuring your Pro Tools system. Any way you look at it, it's a substantial investment in hardware and software, so make sure you take the time to talk to knowledgeable users. Although I'll be using Pro Tools HD for most of the videos in this course, the lessons will work with all three versions of the software. If there's anything different or unique about one of the versions, I'll try to point it out as we go.